your your mom was your first investor. So your mom was the very first shark before there was a Shark Tank. So how did you pitch your mom?
Oh, mom saw me putting in the work. She saw me putting in the work, and she saw me working on FUBU for about 5 years prior. I went to Vegas and I got $300,000 worth of orders from stores who wanted the goods. I come home, I go to banks, and I get turned down by 27 banks. It's not their fault. I didn't have financial intelligence. I didn't have much to collateralize things with. And something like a FUBU was only done maybe by Crocodile Cross Colors earlier than me. So it wasn't really something that people could see value in. I go to my mother, I said, I got turned down by 27 banks. She said, Daymond, you've been, trying to contribute to this house since you were a kid. I wouldn't do this if you didn't have the money. Let's take all the money we can out of the house. You manufacture and deliver the clothes and put the money back into the house. And that's how she gave me the funding. And my mother went out and got $100,000 loan on my house. And I have no idea how, because the house is worth 75. Till today, I haven't asked her what she did for the rest of the money, but shout out to moms.
She did that twice. So let me ask you this. Because normally a lot of times that's a lot of money. And for mom to take out, that's your home. And here's the thing, I can't fail. Or me and mom both gonna be on the street.
That's right.
So you really had to put your head down. You really had to grind to see this thing through, to make sure that mom didn't go belly up and you didn't go belly up, because we're both gonna be belly up. So how confident were you? You said you've been working at this for 5 years. How confident were you this thing's gonna work?
I was 120% confident that it was going to work, and I was absolutely wrong. The story goes that honestly, I turned around and I had turned my house into a factory. My friends and I were sleeping in sleeping bags next to the machines. We had all machines in there. My mother moved out because she like, yo, guys are crazy. We hired seamstresses. I was renting out the top rooms to strangers to keep the mortgage. I was working out Red Lobster still at the same time as doing FUBU. And I turned around and the $100,000 almost 3 months later was only $500 left. And they were talking about taking my house. And I was risking losing my mother's most valuable possession. And it wasn't that I was spending on lavish things, but I didn't know how money worked. And I was paying 90 days ahead of time for raw goods. Then I was paying for staff and manufacturing. And then I was paying for shipping. And then the customers weren't paying me for 30, 60, 90 days terms. So it really got bad. And it was my mother again who said, I have one last idea. She took a ad in the newspaper for $2,000. I gave her the money. I went to Red Lobster, went back to work. And the ad said, $1 million in orders need financing. She was looking for what we call today a strategic partner. Right. And 33 people called that ad. But 30 of them were named Pookie and Laquita, Quack for short, Sal the sausage, Tony two-time. I think 50% interest, live in the attic with collateral. I think one person was named Kevin O'Leary with a royalty deal in perpetuity. I'm talking about real scumbags we're calling. Right. But 3 of them were real. And we ended up doing a deal for manufacturing and distribution with Samsung's textile division.
So did you ever get discouraged? Did you say, man, I done effed this up. I done messed my mama's good name up. I done messed this loan up. I done messed up everything.
Yeah, there were some dark times, and that's the best part about I have 3 amazing partners, and every time they were down, I picked them up, and every time they were down, they'd pick me up. Or vice versa, excuse me. My mother was still there saying, you got this, and my community was behind me, and I realized that I had to make it work. Everything was on the line. There was nothing else to discuss. It was just I had to make this work.
You mentioned you got turned down by 27 banks. Were you using the exact same pitch, or were you going there with a different pitch each time and they still turned you down?
You know, I've never been asked that before. I mean, the pitch got a little sexier after a while, but I think probably by the 20th, the pitch got worse. Like, come on, man, I just got turned down by 20 people. Well, why didn't you tell me that? 21, get out of here. So, but you remember, listen, I was 18 and I was 21 at the time. I didn't know what I was talking about.
Right. Heard a lot of business people say, and I don't know if you can attest to this because you say you was working out of your house, you had the machines, you were sleeping on a sleeping bag. He said one of the biggest mistakes startups make is they go get this lavish office space. They get furniture for that space. They're paying a mortgage or a lease, and they made no money. When some of the most profitable businesses, the Apples, the Googles, the HPs, Amazon, started in a garage with no overhead. Then you get going. Once you start making money, you can go get office space as needed. Do you think that's one of the biggest mistakes?
That is the biggest mistake. Small businesses generally fail due to overfunding. And people are like, what do you mean overfunding? Just like you said, listen, if your grandmother made really great cupcakes, you don't go and sign a 7-year lease and have a cash machine looks like a cupcake and the chandelier look like a cupcake and the couches look like a cupcake and you ain't never sold damn near one cupcake.
Right.
You get a kiosk, that you can rent for a weekend in the mall.
Right.
And you sell cupcakes.
Right.
And that's how it works. So, and also the understanding is that money costs, the earlier you take in money, the more it costs. Right. Because if you ask me now for $100,000 for 50% of your business, and I think it's great. And I'm like, okay, here you go. Well, then let's say that business grows to 10 million and now you need to raise another 2 million. Well, I ain't giving up my 50%. So where you going to get that from, homie? So,
in other words, he's gonna have to work. He's gonna have to work on his 50% because you good. You straight over here where you are.
All good. But if you prove your business well enough, well, then you go and get a loan from the bank because they see the cash revenue coming in. That loan's at 8%, 6%. You never know where it could be from. You can do a crowdfunding raise. So people who you are giving out shares in the company, but they see you have 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, $1 million worth of sales. So when FUBU was, we were doing really, when we first started for the first 4 years, I sold to only 8 stores in New York City. And the reason I sold to those 8 stores was I could have tried to sell to 30 and 50 stores around the country. But if I had these 8 stores and I sold 8 shirts a week in it, my job was to try to get up to 10 shirts a week in it. And after the 10 shirts, add hats in there and jeans in there and make the ticket price more per store. Then when I went to get distribution, I was able to say, I can replicate this in every store in every city and every store in every country because I figured it out. So that's why I didn't take in capital too soon.
Do you still own the childhood home?
No, I don't. I'm thinking about buying it and turning it into probably a museum in Hollis, Queens.
Wow.
So I'm thinking about doing that.
You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and become an official member of Club Shay Shay, where we do something before two something.